Finance and Operations.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to spend just a few minutes talking about the school's finances, where we closed last year and what we're watching for this upcoming year. So the past year, the Board of Education spent 99.7% of our $68.5 million budget. We ended with approximately $231,000 in unspent funds, which equates to about 0.3% of the entire budget. And that small balance did not come from having money to spare. It came from really tight management and a lot of hard work. We put a spending freeze in place in January of this year. Many folks felt that, frankly, so did a lot of our students. I'd like to thank our staff that did more with less to make that happen. We also saved through some attrition, and our in-district special education programs actually saved money while giving our kids a better experience. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about all of those, but I do want to note that all of that discipline had to absorb something really big. Our medical, dental, and workers' comp claim costs ran about $1.5 million over budgeted amounts. We self-fund for health coverage, so that line swings really hard from month to month and year to year. It's very volatile, and this year was a heavy year. We covered that money and still came out at 99.7% spent. The mid-year spending freeze, which was instituted in January, ended up yielding about $293,000. The special education tuition came in $573,000 under budget, and some of the attrition strategic staffing discussions and choices yielded about $636,000. So if and when you do hear the word surplus, that is absolutely not what this is. A surplus is money that you did not need. And this is what we have left after spending 99.7 cents out of every dollar, absorbing a 7-figure overage, which could have been larger because, as I stated, we are self-funded. So what happens with that $231,000? Let's talk about it. Under Connecticut General Statute 10-248A, a school district can move unspent funds from the prior year to what's called a non-lapsing account. You can move up to 2% of the budget, but you have two contingencies. One, the money needs to be used only for education purposes. And two, the board needs to authorize it in a public vote, which we are likely to do tonight. Our balance is well under that limit. It's actually less than a fifth of what the state would allow us to transfer. Just a quick note on why this exists. It exists because the alternative is worse. Without it, districts face a use it or lose it, spend every dollar by June 30th, or forfeit it mentality. That's a bad incentive, and that's not my personal opinion. Research has studied governmental spending for decades now, and work has been published in the American Economic Association as well as several other journals that found that this year-end rush produces lower quality spending and results in higher average annual requested increases. So the money just gets spent fast, just to spend it instead of spending it in a planful way. North Haven has very real and very known needs now. We have no capital funding at all in this year's operating budget and 6 buildings under our care. We have about $1.1 million in identified priority capital needs, including some safety items, but we are meeting safety standards. I want to be very clear about that. So in my opinion, this is the opposite of waste. It is refusing to burn your money just to make a spreadsheet hit $0. Now, part of this balance is going to be recommended to cover a very expensive lawnmower. I was aghast when I heard about it, but we actually are getting a significant discount on it, and it does maintain over 200 acres. Thank you. Okay, 200 acres, including athletic fields, etc. And there could be potential safety issues if the athletic fields are not, or the general grounds are not maintained appropriately. Our prior director of grounds, I hope he's having a lovely time in retirement, had actually asked for this for the last 5 budget cycles, and we just don't think we're going to be able to make it another budget cycle without this. The rest of the dollars would be held in reserve against a final audit. We do get audited every year. I'll talk more about that in a minute. Our benefits, like I said, ran over by roughly $1.5 million. Our teacher vacancies and out-of-district tuition savings helped us out there, plus favorable utilities and a mid-year spending freeze ended up covering it. Our transportation costs are something that I'd like everybody to take a look at. Our special education transportation was over by about 19%, but our regular transportation came in under by 8%, which is almost a wash. So if there are three main takeaways from this year, the prior year, 25-26, first is benefits drove the year, medical and dental and workers' comp, basically accounted for the entire overrun. And that's the same pressure that's forcing us to draw down our insurance reserves. Two, salary and tuition ended up paying for it. We ended up saving money from out-of-district kids who would have otherwise received special education tuition, and the January spending freeze. And third, special education costs shifted but did not grow. So this is something Stephen Covey, who's like the 7 Habits of Highly Successful People that my mom used to make me read, he would call this a true win-win. Special education costs, when you bring students back into district, it's a better experience for the kids, and it also is a significant cost savings. So this one makes my heart happy. We did supplement special education staffing like RBTs, OTs, PTs, BCBAs, and our transportation costs did rise, but this is a very favorable trade because we saved more in tuition than we spent on staffing and transportation. This creates a really better learning environment for our kiddos. Now I want to take just a minute to talk about return on investment. The state of Connecticut has divided socioeconomically similar towns into cohorts called district reference groups. North Haven is in DIRG D. This makes it easier to compare apples to apples. North Haven gets compared to Bethel, Newington, and Branford, rather than being compared to like a Greenwich. And despite spending near the bottom of our district reference group, or DIRG, our district results ranked near the top. Green Acres Elementary was named a National Blue Ribbon School, an honor that fewer than 1% of schools nationally receive. Green Acres, Monowese, and Ridge Road were named CSDE Schools of Distinction. On our state assessments, North Haven ranked 4th out of 24 for ELA and 5th out of math and science, which is really spectacular. So that's like our performance. We're near the top. On our expenses, we ranked 20th out of 24. So we're at the very bottom. We spend $2,401 below the DIRG D average per pupil. That equates to $7.4 million annually that does not get spent in North Haven. Okay, now I just want to talk a little bit about this upcoming year's budget, what we have, and things that I want us to watch out for. This, as we all know, the second referendum passed on June 9th with roughly a 20% turnout. The adopted 4.53% increase is about $3.1 million over our 25-26 allocation. Every single penny in that $3.1 million is non-discretionary. Our dental and medical insurance went up by $2.94 million. Remember, we had $3.1 million total. $2.9 million of that is medical and dental insurance, and another $530,000 is workers' comp. Those two increases alone amount to $3.4 million, which puts us in a $300,000 hole before we even talk about contractual increases. So what does this cost us in capacity? Reaching the adopted figure required eliminating positions within the district, about 28, including 4 proposed special education roles that were removed before they were filled, along with over $365,000 in supplies, curriculum writing, summer intervention, and enrichment. Preserved throughout this process were most student-centered programs, 7th grade world language being the exception. I'm going to talk through some risks now because I think that these risks should be named plainly as we start moving forward. First is that our medical, dental, and workers' comp reserves are very low. Actually, the packet that I handed out to everyone contains an error. It's not $160,000 in the reserve for medical and dental. It's much higher than that now, but it is still half of the actuarial recommended minimum amount. This is a very, very thin cushion against claims of roughly $12 million for medical and dental insurance. And also of concern is the actuarial recommended range, in addition to medical and dental, is for our workers' comp. We have about $1.7 million in IBNR, which is incurred but not realized. It's money that we may have to pay sooner rather than later, and $138,000 in reserves. So I want to call that out right now. We had a favorable month of June, which is helpful, but as I stated before, our reserve accounts, because we're self-funded, incredibly volatile. This changes from month to month. The second concern is that there is no capital funding and the deferred list is growing. We have $1.1 million in identified capital needs, and deferring this work doesn't actually save us money. It just converts planned maintenance down the road into emergency repairs or bonded debt. Our state funding is among the lowest in our district reference group. North Haven receives roughly 8% of its education funding from the state of Connecticut, or about $1,594 per pupil. The average within our district reference group is 15% of their annual budget from the state of Connecticut. That would equate to roughly $6 million for North Haven. With no meaningful growth in state aid to offset rising local costs, this essentially forces the pressure onto all of us local taxpayers. The fourth risk is that benefits are outpacing our budget. Medical, dental, and workers' comp now drive the vast majority of the growth. Of that $3.1 million in growth, we talked about medical, dental, and workers' comp making up $3.4 million of that. And our contractual lines and our instructional lines are actually starting to cover those costs. Over the past decade, the Board of Education has been essentially flat in real terms. We're down 1.4% against inflation from 2015. While the town side of the budget actually grew by 13.6% in real terms, and good for them. But the Board of Ed's share of the total budget has fallen from 53.8% to 49.8%. Our district's purchasing power is eroding, even though mandates, enrollment, and needs are not. The fifth risk is a special education capacity. As I talked about before, special education is the biggest win-win. When we get to keep these kids in district, it's a better experience and it's more cost-effective. We unfortunately had to pass on 4 special education positions this year, and I'm just encouraging everybody on the board to monitor this closely as we move forward, because that is a significant cost lever. The district's 8 in-district special education programs cost about $5.68 million annually and avoid an estimated $21.3 million in out-of-district placement costs for a net of $15.7 million annually. That also means that like an out-of-district placement can run roughly 3.75 times what an in-district placement. And then another one, my last risk I just want to call out is grants. We fixed our chillers and several other emergency needs with the DRIP grant. That grant is not guaranteed for next year, and I want to just make sure I'm saying that out loud. As we set the stage for the year ahead, the adopted budget carries almost no contingency, so the margin for error is very, very thin. I think we should watch the impact of this year's position reductions across the board, but with a specific focus on special education service delivery, and where a shortfall can convert into an out-of-district placement at roughly 4 times the cost. As we think about the 27-28 budget development, I think we should create a credible multi-year plan to restore our medical, dental, and workers' comp reserves. My friend Joe is not here right now, but he's been advocating for that for years, and I think we should really buckle down and get serious about it. I think we should also reintroduce a modest recurring capital line, have a clear-eyed assessment of state aid, and look at what eroding special education capacity might look like. So this is where we are right now. The district delivers some of the strongest results in our reference group at nearly the lowest cost per student, and we do it by managing carefully every year down to the last fraction of a percent. We'll keep bringing these decisions to you in the open, and we'll keep answering honest questions with honest numbers. I do want to encourage folks to maybe not believe everything that they read on social media. Like, let's go to the experts who have the information. If you have questions on the Board of Education budget, you can talk to your local principal at any of the schools. You can talk to any of the folks at this table, particularly Patrick. Sorry, Patrick, but you're great at talking to people and explaining things. And also an email to the Board of Education works great. Thanks.